Go little onion, go little onion. I'm about to do so much with your precious little life. I am unhinged is what I'm trying to say. I have the most delicious, cozy dish for you today. It is my sweet potato shepherd's pie. This dish is decadent, it's rich, it is insanely craveable. And honestly, did I create this recipe so that I could get more savory sweet mashed potatoes into my mouth? The answer is yes. That is literally why I created this dish. I love the savory sweet mashed potatoes. They are garlicky, they have fresh thyme in them, they are creamy. You need to trust me. So many people have told me that they hate sweet potatoes, but they love this sweet potato mash. This dish is also perfect if you have leftover sweet potato and you need, like, what do I do with it? I mean, I would just eat it. But you could also put it on top of this shepherd's pie. The first thing that I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna make the savory sweet mashed potatoes, and you can actually make these a day or two ahead of time, and then when you're ready to use them, pull them out of the refrigerator and just top your shepherd's pie with them. These sweet potatoes are piping hot. They just came out of the oven. They were in there at 400 degrees for about an hour. Whoa, yeah, they're done. These puppies are done. Okay, we don't need the skins on them. The skin just, woo! Hot potato comes right off. So you can just peel the skin right off like that. Protect the fingies. Just go at your own pace. Woo! I mean, right off. Woo! You can also let them cool off. These are our sweet potatoes for our mash, and I'm just gonna transfer them to a bowl. Whee! In they go. While these are still hot, I went ahead and added 3 tablespoons of butter so that butter will get nice and melty. Something that brings a lot of flavor to these sweet potatoes is I am going to heat up some olive oil, about a tablespoon of olive oil in a little saute pan, and I'm gonna add 2 cloves of garlic minced. I just wanna slightly cook the garlic. Go ahead and get 2 garlic cloves. Now I'm going to perform a magic trick. I feel like cooking is magic anyway. When you come into my kitchen and I'm cooking, you're coming to a magic show. Naked garlic. This garlic tried to escape. You saw it, I saw it. I'm about to do so much with your precious little life. Got my oil. I'm just gonna add my garlic. We're just gonna saute these until they just become fragrant. This right here is liquid gold. You do not want to leave. We are babysitting this. It's just gonna take a few minutes. That garlic smell just full on hit me. I love when garlic talks to me. I'm gonna start with a teaspoon of salt. Taste your salt. Not all salt is created the same. I actually have a video on salt. I'll link it here. You need to know about salt. The hidden life of salt. I use Diamond Crystal Kosher salt. It just has such a delicious, pure taste. If you have Morton's and Diamond Crystal Kosher salt, please taste them next to each other. When you taste Morton, it will taste like you have swallowed the sea. The actual whole sea. All of the sea will be gone because you just swallowed it. I know a lot of people who love Morton's, and it's like, yes, love the salt you love, but know how it works. If a recipe is calling for a few teaspoons of Diamond Crystal Kosher, maybe just start with 1 teaspoon. It's about a tablespoon of fresh thyme, and the fresh thyme just really cuts through all the richness of the dish. Fresh cracked black pepper. And now I am going to use my meat crumbler to mash these potatoes. I use my meat crumbler for potatoes, for avocados. This thing is so multi-purpose. We have our sweet potato mash, and I can just set this aside until I'm ready to put it over my meat mixture. Of course, I have to give it a taste. It's so savory, it's so garlicky. I love that little fresh pop from the thyme. I could eat a whole bowl of this, but the show must go on. Let's move on to our meat mixture. It's the basic ingredients you know and love: carrots, onion, mushrooms, garlic, ground beef. You can also do ground lamb, ground sirloin. What I have on hand right now is 80-20 ground beef, so that's what I'm gonna use. And I'm just gonna dice everything up real nice. Just cut them into thirds so I can work with them a little better. I'm gonna go down half, a nice dice. We have our carrots here, and now we need 1 small onion. You all, use that small onion. I feel like the onions I get at the grocery store these days are like massive. And look how cute. I'm like, spherical. Go little onion, go little onion. But don't go too far. What we're gonna do is we're gonna chop our onion, and you all, this is the best way to chop an onion. The first is to locate what I call the party. Okay, the party is the root. It's what I feel like it looks like confetti is like shooting out of the onion, okay? These little like sprigs, if you will, or what I call confetti. Okay, don't cut that off. The party stays, but we are gonna cut the other end off because we wanna work with a flat surface. Make sure you have a good grip on your onion and just boom. Okay, now we wanna cut down the middle of the party. Just gonna go right down the middle. There we have it. Now we can get rid of that first layer of onion. Now we have a flat surface to work with. This is a pretty small onion, but I am gonna show you what I usually do for a nice dice. Firmly put the palm of your hand like this and go through the middle of the onion, but do not go all the way through. Just get close to the root, and then we're gonna go down. Again, we're not cutting through the root, we're just getting really close to that root. Now you can chop. And it just gives you a really nice dice. Now we have our mushrooms. This is about half a container of 8 ounces of mushrooms. Shiitake. If you do not like mushrooms, please get shiitake. Please, please get shiitake. They have such a delicious umami flavor, especially when they're browned really nicely. I used to not like mushrooms at all. Now, do I subscribe to all varieties of mushrooms? Yes, I do. But the gateway was shiitake. One of these like white mushroom caps. That's what I was always using. I was like, what? I'm just gonna give it a nice little rough chop. I'm not being too precious about this. I'm just gonna give it a rough chop. Mushrooms also shrink when they brown. You don't have to have these like in the most tiny pieces. There are my mushrooms. So rustic, like so unevenly chopped and rustic. I'm gonna go ahead and add my veggies in here. And I want these to get nice and brown, especially the mushrooms. We're just gonna let these saute for a few minutes before we add our ground beef. I don't know if you all saw, but there was olive oil in this pan, and as soon as I added my veggies, where is the oil? The mushrooms soaked that olive oil up immediately. And this is what I want you all to think about when you think about mushrooms. Mushrooms are delicious flavor carriers. They are gonna soak up any of that delicious liquid or flavor, and it's now in the mushroom. It is a delicious flavor carrier. We're not talking bad about mushrooms anymore in the year 2023, okay? But I understand if you don't like mushrooms. That's a personal preference. These are looking really nice and browned. The smell is amazing. So I'm gonna go ahead and add my ground beef in here. Just gonna make a little spot for it. Look, I made you a home. You're gonna love it. You've got great neighbors. Woo! And we're just gonna brown this for about 5 minutes. Wow. Cheers. It's not quite as strong as a Stanley Tucci martini, because I can't do a Stanley Tucci martini. I do not know if my eyes are still watering because of that onion, that small but mighty onion, or because my bangs are in my actual eyeballs. Have bangs responsibly, you all. Our beef is nicely brown. We've got some really good, nice brown bits working about that we're gonna get to. I'm gonna add 3 cloves of garlic, do 2 teaspoons of salt, some freshly cracked black pepper, 1 tablespoon of tomato paste. You all, tomato paste also brings like a really nice umami flavor to dishes. And we're just gonna let it caramelize a little bit before we add anything else. When you taste this dish and you're like, oh my gosh, my mouth is watering, I wanna go back for more, it's because of the shiitake mushrooms, the garlic, and the tomato paste. When I was learning to cook, I don't know why it took so long to learn this, but you all, if anything starts burning or you think it's getting overly brown, just turn the heat down. Just turn the heat down. I would just be like, it's burning, but it says to cook on medium high for 3 more minutes. Now I'm going to deglaze. Those brown bits also are gonna bring a lot of flavor. I'm using red wine, but you can also use some beef stock. See how all of that deliciousness comes up? That is flavor, you all. That's flavor. Now I'm gonna add 14.5 ounces of diced tomatoes. Canned diced tomatoes. If you don't like the texture of a diced tomato, you can get petite dice, it's a little smaller, or you can do tomato sauce. I'm just gonna mix this all up, and then we're gonna let it simmer for about 10 minutes, and then we're gonna top it with our sweet potatoes. It's been 10 minutes, so this should be all nice and ready to go. But the first thing we're gonna do, you all, is we're gonna taste it. Because if this mixture needs salt, we want to figure that out right now, not after we do a lovely spread of sweet mashed potatoes. It is so rich. It is so delicious. Now, I do want to add a little bit more salt. I'm going to add a little bit more salt, and I'm going to add a little bit more freshly cracked black pepper. If you taste your dish and you're like, it's good, but there's just like a little something, like there's just like something, it's almost always salt. So just add a little bit more salt. I want a little bit more of that black pepper in there. I'm going to give it one more taste. This is decadent, it is rich. And now we are ready to put our savory mashed sweet potatoes on top. I'm gonna add these. I just put them all right into the middle and then spread it out from there. If your savory sweet mashed potatoes were cold because you had made them the day before or the morning of, you can pop this in the oven for about 10 minutes just to warm everything up. I'd say 10 minutes at about 350, 400. My savory sweet mashed potatoes are still really warm, so this is good to go. But I am going to throw on a little bit more fresh thyme. And I have this fresh Parmesan. So this is for me. Normal people would dish up their own plate, but I'm gonna try it right now. I'm gonna get for sure some savory mashed sweet potatoes, some Parmesan cheese, some of that fresh thyme, and of course the meat mixture. She's steamy, you all. Stay safe out there. Those savory sweet mashed potatoes really add so much to it. It just gives this really delicious creaminess to it. And the meat mixture is just like so decadent and rich. I want to sit down with this whole thing and eat it. Thank you so much for joining another episode of The Cook's Channel. I can't wait to see you next week. What are we gonna eat? I love when garlic talks to me. This carrot is doing the most. Thank you so much for joining me on The Cooking Channel. Nope. That is a real channel and that is not my channel.